Hey, Nadia.
Hello.
Sometimes I feel like our talks are all about exposing you and what's going on in your personal life. Sorry in
Yeah, it's
advance.
okay. No, I'm okay with it. I like sharing.
Okay. Hopefully, it's helpful for other people.
Yeah, makes it more personal.
Yeah. Okay. So today, because it is end of November, or no, mid November, we're
Mhm.
going into Thanksgiving break. And you probably had some midterms coming up, or just had some midterms. And I have some big news and projects coming up in my life too. And so
Mhm.
this has inspired me to bring up the topic of panic attacks and anxiety. And when sometimes you're so obsessed or worried or nervous about something that you can't
Mhm.
literally think or perform the way that you want to, or
Right.
um, your whole life is filtered with some kind of panic haze.
Mhm. Yeah.
Does that resonate with you at all?
Yeah. I that is something that as you know, I've struggled with that for a long time and it like cuz I'm the type of person to just get stressed out really easily over like the littlest things. Um, and yeah, it is Thanksgiving break. We had midterms like at the before Halloween. But that doesn't mean like the test stops. So like I've had like a bunch of like projects and tests before Thanksgiving break, and then I'll have finals before I go home. So yeah, it's stressful. It's also like starting to get cold, and I haven't been home in a while, so it's it's just a lot, and everyone feels like they need a break.
Yeah. Um, so have you ever been in the middle of a test and felt panic, like you couldn't figure out the answer and all of a sudden you were worried?
um, I mean, in a general sense of like as like just not knowing the answer, yeah, but I would say that my test anxiety doesn't usually happen during the test. It'll happen like the night before, meaning like I'm studying the night before. And that's when it feels like I have to stay up all night and I have to like do all of this right now because either I don't know it or I've like procrastinated too long. So like that's when like the panic attacks and like anxiety sets in. But while I'm taking the test, I mean, yeah, if it's a hard question, I'm gonna like get nervous, but I feel like I don't have that that type of test anxiety, which I'm fortunate not to have because I feel like it really hurts people when they have to when their grade depends on this like one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I would say that does only apply for me in school because I do get performance anxiety when I'm like competing, and that could also happen. And that could happen during competition, like during a routine.
So do
So
you
it depends.
well, okay, let's take a step back. So the night before a test, you're worried because you've procrastinated or you feel like you don't know the material enough,
Right.
and you say that you get like anxious. What does
Hmm.
that look like? How do you respond to that, and how does that feel inside you?
I get very panicky. I feel like I can't do anything but like study for the test. Like I can't take any breaks, and I can't like I need to stay up late even if I have to wake up early so that I can finish it. And like I don't know, it can get to the point where I just feel like so overwhelmed that I feel like crying or like this just happened on Tuesday. On Tuesday, and I stayed in the library for 10 hours and I only left to get food. And I mean, that doesn't mean I was like working like the entire time, but I was in that library for 10 hours. And I don't know. That's not very healthy at all. But like that's like how my anxiety, what my anxiety tells me to do is like I need to like I know I can't sleep. I can't do anything else.
So it's one thing to like take that situation and go, I need to study. So like I need I need to do well on this test. So I have to be in the
Right.
library for 10 hours. It's almost
Right.
like a punishment or a prescription or something like that. So that's one
Right.
thing versus another feeling, which might be like you can't think about anything else. You can't
Right.
eat. You cannot literally like fall asleep because you're thinking so much about the test. So that's why you're in the
Yeah.
library. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It's
like,
like
is it
yeah.
more like you prescribe 10 hours in the library for yourself? Or is it more
No.
like, I can't sleep. I can't have a good time. I can't enjoy anything else. So I might as well be in the library and do that.
I didn't plan on staying in the library for 10 hours. That's just how it happens. And it like really didn't need to happen because I could have just not procrastinated that much. But I don't know, it feels better to me. And then sometimes when you get home late and you have to get up and you have to wake up for your test the next morning, then I have like anxiety that I'm not going to wake up in time for the test. So it's like just a whole bunch of things.
So
Um
do you feel like staying up actually helps? Like you're like, oh, it's a good thing I stayed up
well,
and barely slept. Or do you feel like you just kind of made things worse by studying for so long that you didn't sleep?
I I don't regret it because of like how I felt during the test. Not that I thought the test went really well. I just feel like if I hadn't done it, I would have felt a lot worse and it would have been really bad. And I've also found recently, like this wasn't always the case. I used to be able to like wake up early and study and stuff, but now I realize that if I try to wake up early here, I just end up staying in bed and not working. It just doesn't work in my favor. So staying up late is like the better option of the two bad options for me. But I don't know. I
That
don't
might be
regret
where
it
you,
because the test could have gone a lot worse. But that's not a healthy thing. This is not a healthy study habit. But I don't know.
I mean, have you ever found this? This has happened to me. I've found that sometimes when I'm working on something super late at night when I'm tired, um, it takes me forever. Like I'm trying to write an email to somebody, and I just like my words are just not coming out. I'm so
Yeah.
tired that like it's sometimes like gibberish. And then
Right.
if I wake up in the morning and try to do that, like finish that task, it like happens
Mhm.
super fast. Like it's like so much easier to do.
I guess it's like if you're writing something, yeah, I could see that. But I was doing organic chemistry, so it was like my brain was already working, and I didn't come home because I knew that if I came back to my room, that I'd get distracted. Like that transition when you're studying is not always the best. And they just remodeled the fourth floor of the library. So it's like all new and exciting with couches and all this stuff. So it's like I had a new environment to study in, so that also helped. Um,
That's nice.
but yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I don't have. I mean, we're lucky to not have too much test anxiety, but I do remember the first moment that I felt panicky during a test. It was
Hmm.
weirdly, really specifically during my junior year of high school Spanish final. And I had never felt that before, where all of a sudden it's felt like this like wave or wash of, I don't know, like I guess a panic. I don't know how
Yeah,
else to call it, but like a
yeah.
wave came over me, like a feeling came over me. And it
Mm,
just like, it's almost my whole body or like brain and body were like almost like buzzing and in a state of
right.
like haziness almost. And
Yeah.
I just took a moment to acknowledge it. And I was like, whoa, that's weird. And luckily I was able enough to realize what was happening and then
Right.
wait for it to pass, which didn't take too long, and then I just went on, but I was like,
Hmm.
whoa, that's strange.
Yeah.
And then the first time, and then when the pandemic happened, or what the start of the pandemic,
Mhm.
everything was all unclear. I found myself waking up at like 5 in the morning, like super awake. And I was like, that's weird. I don't need to be awake because I couldn't go to work, right? I was
Right.
like, oh, that's weird. Am I waking up this early because I just, I'm so rested because I'm not working?
Hmm.
And then I realized, like, oh, I think that's anxiety waking me up at 5 in the morning, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
It's like a different color of that wave was over me, kind of like just like
Yeah.
super awake and ready to go. It almost felt good, but then wasn't good because it was at five
Yeah.
o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt that?
Um yeah. I mean, I feel like I I panic like really quickly and easily. And so maybe like I do have test anxiety, but I feel that in a lot of other situations in my life. So it feels normal. Um I would say like now I'm just like thinking back to my test I just took right now. When I don't know something, I like I'll sit there for a second. If I really don't know it, like I'm just gonna either have to come back to it, like guess and put a random answer down, or I don't know, and then like when I leave that test, I'll be like stressed out about it. But um another thing that I feel like after I left that test is like I feel like I have blacked out during the test. Like I'll leave and be like, I don't remember anything I did, and I don't remember, can't even look up the questions because I don't remember the questions anymore. Um, but
Oh, that's never happened to me before. Like you just black
yeah,
out.
well, it's like I leave the test room and like suddenly like, I don't remember any of the questions I just like wrote, and then I'm like, well, hopefully,
Do you
hopefully
eventually
it
remember
works
them, or
out.
did they stay out of your head forever?
Um, they stay out of my head forever. Unless it's like one that I really like wasn't sure about, then like I guess that one stays in. But um with gymnastics, I guess it's a different type of like panic. There's the panic that I felt like when I knew I wasn't prepared and I like had to do something during practice that like I don't know.
Was scary, or you felt like your
Yeah.
life was at stake, your
Yeah.
health was at stake?
And then there's like anxiety before competing. I've also felt like I can do it really well when no one's. This is primarily with gymnastics of like I can do it really well, what something really well, and then like someone will point it out and everyone will start watching, and then I'll like fall on my face, and like not like a fear of it, like it's actually happened multiple times. Like I just like when the pressure's on me, it it just doesn't work out. And I don't know, but probably because like I put that pressure on my extra pressure on myself to do it really well. But I don't know, I feel that type of panic when I'm competing.
I feel like I was just talking to my colleague. I was talking to Tanya about
Mm-hmm.
how some people like really thrive and do well in an emergency situation or like a kind of like stressful situation, and
Right.
some people kind of just crumble and can't act. And she said
Yeah.
about me, she's like, I feel like you, Elisa, can like
Mm-hmm.
really work well in an emergency situation. Like if you're my emergency room doc, you'd be okay. And I was like,
Yeah.
I totally don't agree with that. Like I feel like I wouldn't do well when having to think quickly. But I think the difference, I think she would do well in that kind of situation. But I think the difference for me is like, there are few situations that I think
Mm-hmm.
are stressful and panicky. So then
Yeah.
when people think that I flourish well under stress, but I think it's just that I don't interpret a lot of situations as stressful,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'm like, this is okay. We're okay
You're
here,
just used to it.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I do not think I work well in like emergency situations, and I would not do well in the emergency room because my stress and anxiety can blind my judgment. Um, which I guess is something I should work on, but
That's what I
I
think
can
about
just
myself too. It's something I should work on. I'm actually like emergency. responder certified. So like I've taken the course so many times, but I say to myself all the time, I would be really bad in that situation. But I wonder if I really like worked on it because I have the skills, I have the
Yeah.
knowledge. I just maybe I need to be in the situation a lot and
Yeah.
then I'll get better at it or trust myself more.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes you have to have enough like successful rounds of something in order to start to
Hmm.
feel like, oh, I think I can do this.
Yeah, definitely. I think another this is like another form of like panic and anxiety, and like a different form is like in social situations.
Mm.
I have like I've gotten better at it, but I do have a lot of social anxiety, and like it there's that type of panic of like when you're with a group of people you don't know, or even with a group of people that you do know, and you like say something or you don't know what to say, and then you like sit there and you're like, wait, I shouldn't have said that, or like I don't belong here, so what am I doing here? I mean, especially in college, obviously, like I felt that a lot. So there's that type of like panic. I'm gonna run away and like I don't know. Um,
Yeah, that's interesting. So, your dad and I were talking about how now I'm going to expose him. He can't be here to defend himself. How he can be like, so his social anxiety sometimes shows up in before an event, like
mm-hmm.
before he goes someplace. He's like not necessarily looking forward to it, trying to think about like who is going to be there, what are their names, like
Mm-hmm.
he's like strategizing ahead of time like how he's going to manage the situation. I'm
Right,
usually like kind of optimistic about the situation and I just kind of go
right,
into it, but then sometimes after I kind of perseverate or like think a long time about the things that I said to people while I was
yeah,
at the party,
yeah.
and should I have said that differently and what kind of impression did I leave, and like second guessing. So I would,
Like
is that like, that's not really, it's like post event anxiety. I don't know what that's called.
it's just social anxiety. Your anxiety over,
Social regret.
yeah, yeah. Um, I think like yeah, that's something I've really had to work on. And I feel like it wasn't something that I wanted to work on, but in college, I feel like at home, I don't know, maybe I'm just like making assumptions. But like when I'm at home, my friends at home are more um outgoing than more extroverted than I am. Whereas like my friends, um I feel like when I'm with my friends that I've made at Northeastern, I've made a lot of friends that are like me, which is like really nice. But then that means when we're in social situations and like you have to like go talk to someone, or you have to, I don't know, be the first one to walk to a door, like I end up being the one to do it. So like I've like forced myself to, I don't know if it's to be more confident or just to not care. Maybe they
Mm-hmm.
go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll feel like a lot of anxiety beforehand, and then you're like, wait, I shouldn't have done that. Um, or in the morning after. Like the morning after I go out is probably the worst ever.
You're like laying in bed thinking about all the things you did
Yeah,
and said.
it's called anxiety, and
Oh, I've never heard of that term.
I
Anxiety.
well, I suffer from it
Well, that's
really
a whole
bad.
other thing, though. When you're intoxicated and not thinking clearly and acted in ways that you would have if you had like full judgment and
Yeah.
control,
Yeah, but
that's a different
it's
thing.
not even it's that, and then also like when I'm in those situations, it's a social situation where I like try to act more like confident and like more outgoing than I actually am. So then when I look back at it, it's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I did that. But like it's a normal thing to do, but I just like talked to someone, and I wouldn't have done that if, you know, if I was
It
in
is a
like
beauty
at
about
school.
going away to college, right? Like you get to try on a
Yeah.
bunch of different identity and personality outfits. Like
Yeah. But then
today
when
I'm
I
going
go
to be,
home, then I'm like feel really weird. Like I'm going home tomorrow, and anytime I go home it just feels really I don't know how to act. I it's a really strange feeling, a panicky feeling. Not
Okay, can we bring up your AP test?
no, we can't. We actually can't. Well, actually, I have told other people I can. I don't even know. I don't even know what I that would like. How am I supposed to? Well, anyways, if you took AP tests in 2020, they were online. And long story short, I was really, really stressed out about it. And it was my first AP test. It's AP Euro. And I just got really stressed out. And it was really bad. And then I had to, there was some events happened and I had to redo the test because I didn't turn it in. And then it was just really bad. And I was screaming, crying
Oh my
for
gosh, I had
probably hours.
okay. First of all, going into the exam,
What?
the whole week before, you kept
Oh.
like you were so nervous about it. I wasn't sure why, but you were so nervous
Well,
about this test. I mean, it was a hard time, right? We're talking, was this 2020? No, this was
yeah.
2021, right? Because
No, it was 2020.
oh, okay. So it was your sophomore year, second semester, sophomore year. So we're talking
Yeah.
like April, May, or whatever,
Yeah.
2020. Everything's online. Everything is crazy at this time. Like the whole world is
Yeah.
anxious about, just this the baseline is anxiety, right?
Right.
And then you take your first AP test, and I don't know what story you had said in your head about the importance of this test to your whole entire life and identity, but there was a whole week of you like being so worried about it in a really weird way because you've always done pretty well in school. So I was like, I wonder why she's so nervous about this test.
yeah.
And I was a little bit worried because you kept saying that it was going to be bad. And I would, how sometimes they say, if you say it's going to be bad, it's going to be bad, like you're
Yeah.
putting that too much of that energy in the universe.
Yeah.
So then you go to take the test and you're in your room for however many hours taking the
Can't
test
say
online.
everything.
Oh,
It's
I'm not supposed to say it.
bad.
I'm not supposed to say it.
Well,
Okay, never mind. I thought you just said it.
no, well, I didn't actually say it. It's actually not that bad, but I can't expose myself that much.
Okay, well, long story short, from a mother's point of view,
I
your
panicked.
response after the test was very scary for me to witness.
Yeah. I think sophomore year was all like that was for a lot of different reasons. That was like a weird time for me, like mentally and emotionally, especially with COVID. And yeah, I was really panicky. The whole first semester, like, I guess it was freshman year too. I was like crying every single gymnastics practice. Every single practice I went to, I cried. And like, that's not normal. So, like, it was already like a hard time. And I guess I did have test anxiety then. And from then on, it's been like better. But,
What would you say to that freshman Nadia that was crying every day in practice now? Would you be like, it's going to be
well,
okay? Or would you be like, you should stop doing gymnastics now?
um, I mean, I had the opportunity. I could have left if like I could have quit if I wanted to, but I didn't. So I don't know if freshman year me would have really wanted to stop. I don't know. I think she needed a break, and I think I just took things way too seriously. It was like that was like my whole life. I guess that's how I felt with like school too. I mean, it was my whole life, school and gymnastics. But I don't know. I don't really know what I would say to myself in that situation. I just like things weren't working at practice, and so I reacted physically.
I
And I
wonder,
was getting hurt a lot, so
yeah, maybe actually you weren't eating enough.
no, I probably was eating enough.
Maybe not sleeping enough. I don't know.
I don't know, I was just
Now that you
anxious
talk
and
about it, like,
stressed.
yeah, just stressed. You stopped doing gymnastics at the end of your senior year, and at
Yeah.
around the same time, Lucy stopped too, and she had her own reasons for stopping after the end of her sophomore year. She was saying it wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
But I wonder if part of her felt like she had to stay at gymnastics to like look out for you. Like if you could
I
see your sister crying every day at practice, you might be worried and then like
I want
think that you
to
should be around just in case.
I want to bring her on the podcast to ask her. In my opinion, I don't think that's why she stayed. I don't think like I don't know. We weren't in the same group then. She might like I don't know. We should ask her. But
We should bring a coach on and ask her about you crying at every practice.
I don't know. Yeah, it was bad. But and I tried to see a therapist then too. That's it. That's just like it didn't work for me. I feel like now like I don't see a therapist now, but if I now looking back on it, I really approached the therapy as like in a strange way that like wouldn't have helped me.
Like it was a failure to go to the therapy?
Not that therapy was a failure, that like I didn't approach it in the way that I should have.
What was
You
that? How
know?
did you approach it and how
Like
should
I
you
feel
have?
like I mean, I don't really remember that much, but like I don't feel like I probably told her everything. And I also don't feel like I felt like this is like a one time like it you know. I do remember I think I had like 2 or 3 sessions, but like with different people. So I don't know why like I don't know why I did it like that. It was just I don't know. I guess I was a lot it's a lot different personality wise then. I feel like I was a lot less like open to share, and now I feel like I just talk and talk and talk. So it'll be a
Uh,
different experience now.
yeah. I think I told you that my friend said that like going on this podcast is kind of like therapy and our podcast is the therapist. It's like
A little bit.
it's like a
Um,
controlled conversation because we know where it's being recorded.
yeah.
Um well, okay, about your therapy that you went to when you were younger,
Hmm.
maybe it would have taken just some time to build like trust and
Totally.
connection. And I
Yeah.
think that you were in a situation where you received care didn't really promote like weekly
Right.
sessions because you were, I mean, to be specific, you were at a
Hmm.
Kaiser HMO and maybe
Right.
you weren't seen as somebody that was like in an urgent like situation. So
Right.
they prioritized your appointments maybe a little bit less and wanted to
Yeah.
encourage you to maybe use the tools that they were helping you in
Yeah.
between and then practice that and then come back. You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's a style that probably works for a
Hmm.
lot of people, but maybe didn't work for you at the time.
Yeah. I feel like I definitely didn't. I didn't approach it as like a long term thing. I approached it as like a one time thing that is gonna work after one time, which obviously it's not. Um, and I don't know. I feel like I guess it's not because of like the people I surround myself with, but just because it's high school and we don't talk about it that much. But I feel like when I was at home, like before I came here, I wasn't around as many people that did therapy or like were on anxiety like medication or things like that. But now being in college, I feel like the majority of my friends have either seen a therapist or are talking to one, and not because like things are like really terrible, but it's just like they know that it helps them and they have like a relationship with the person that they're talking to, so it feels like you know they can actually get something out of the conversation. um so in that way, I feel like maybe my approach to therapy is like it has changed because I've I'm around more people that like have seen the benefits from it. Um, but
If
there's
you
also
needed therapy, like if you wanted to pursue mental health
hmm.
support, would you tell your dad and I ahead of time or would you just go seek it yourself?
Well, I've had like friends try to go do it at school because they have it at school. Um, but I don't know if it was like the best experience. So I'd probably just ask you guys. I don't feel like, I don't know.
Stigma or
Some
shame
people,
about asking for it?
yeah, unfortunately, some people do, but like, I feel like I would just ask you because then I could, find one that actually fits me instead of like trying to find a free one on campus, like it's just different. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Therapy's good. I feel like I should. I
Yeah, it
feel
really,
like,
it's a
I
nice
don't
thing.
know.
Like I didn't seek a lot of therapy before. I don't know if that's just like there wasn't a need, or if it was because there was like stigma attached to it, or maybe
Right.
because of the money associated with it. But
Mm-hmm.
then but then I did see somebody um last year. Last year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, last year. And it was so nice. She was so
Yeah.
lovely. And it felt really good to talk to somebody that, like, people always say, like, I can talk to my friends, I can talk to my family.
Right.
It's
Right.
really different to talk to somebody that you're paying to listen to you
Right.
and
Right.
that's not part of your life, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe can say things that make you feel like their responses make you feel heard, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know. I didn't see her for very long. It just like it
Mm-hmm.
felt good to do it. And then I
Yeah.
recently recommended this therapist to somebody else
Yeah.
who also had never seen a therapist. She's a little bit older than me, had never seen a therapist. And she's like, I just, it's so hard to go out there and find somebody. Like, I don't know if I'm going to find the right fit, blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
Right.
just see this person. She's really nice. And I saw that person that I recommended the therapist to
Mm-hmm.
this past week. And she's like, oh my God, it's so nice to talk to her. So it felt good to like go to
Yeah.
therapy, have it feel good, and then pass on the permission and information to somebody else to go
Right.
seek a therapist. And I was so glad that I could give somebody that I thought was like a good resource.
Yeah. Yeah. That is. I don't know. I've never. I have like the amount of like pros that I hear to therapy in comparison to like one bad experience. I feel like
That's a good
everyone
point.
should try.
Yeah.
Um,
But it does
but
cost money too,
it does.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like one bad experience plus it costs you whatever it cost you.
Right.
It's hard sometimes when like maybe like part of the reason why you need
Yeah.
some support is because you're having some financial issues, you know?
Right.
It's yeah.
Yeah. It's also hard, especially with like being in college. It's like I feel like, well, but I mean, I guess maybe in when I tried to go to therapy before, I wasn't really open with everything that was happening. Also because like I just felt like whatever I was feeling wasn't really that, like whatever was like causing my anxiety wasn't that valid. And so you end up like not sharing as much, and now in college, like you don't want to have to tell your therapist like all these things. So then you just end up like, oh, I'm not gonna see him anymore. I'm not gonna see her anymore.
I mean
Just
maybe that's
because
why it
like,
takes time because it takes
yeah,
time to get to the point where you're like, all right, fine. I'm gonna tell you the things.
yeah, but yeah,
Anyway, I'm glad you're managing your panic and anxiety and overwhelm in a relatively productive way, in a way that's working for you right now. But if you do
yeah,
need mental health support, yeah, you can tell
yeah,
your dad and I.
yeah.
All right. Nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you
That was a long
too.
one. It just
Yeah,
flowed.
and I'll see you literally tomorrow.
Yay. All right. Bye.
Okay, bye.